Imagine this, a night as soft as velvet. Outside, the Nile drifts slowly, its silver surface curling like a ribbon beneath the moon. The gentle sound of water brushing the shore mixes with the faint, melodic song of a boatman echoing across the dark. You're lying on a flat rooftop, just as thousands of ancient Egyptians once did. No pillow, only a mat woven from soft reeds. The air is dry and cool, carrying with it the faint scent of damp earth, the very soil that has fed an entire civilization for millennia. Tonight, you are neither pharaoh nor priest. You're simply one among the many, perhaps a brickmaker, a stone hauler, or a humble scribe working in the temple's shade. Tomorrow, the sun will rise again, fierce and golden, and life will resume its steady rhythm, unchanged and unending, like the eternal flow of the Nile itself. But for now, let yourself drift with this voice and listen to the whispers of those who once lived, breathed, and dreamed in this land of sand and light. Feel the day's heat finally release from the mud brick walls around you. Your muscles, tight from a day of labor under the watchful eye of the foreman, begin to soften. Perhaps you spent your day molding bricks, the Nile mud cool and heavy between your fingers. Or maybe you were polishing a limestone block, the fine white dust clinging to your skin, destined for a tomb that will outlast empires. The work is hard, the sun unforgiving, but here, under the stars, there is peace. Your family sleeps nearby, their quiet breathing a comforting rhythm in the stillness. A child sighs in their sleep, dreaming of chasing hoopoes through the papyrus reeds. Your partner lies beside you, their hand resting near yours. In this moment, you are not just a worker. You are a parent, a spouse, a dreamer. Your thoughts turn not to the great pyramids or the gods in their golden shrines, but to the simple hopes of tomorrow. A good catch from the river, a fair price for your grain at the market, the health and happiness of your children. Look up. The sky is a vast, inky canvas, scattered with the same constellations that guide the sailors and farmers. The Egyptians called them the unwearying ones, the stars that never rest. You see the celestial bark of Re making its nightly journey through the underworld, preparing to be reborn at dawn. You don't need a papyrus scroll to understand this story. It's written in the sky above you every single night. It's a promise that even after the deepest darkness, light will always return. Down below, in the narrow lanes of the village, a dog barks once, then falls silent. The aroma of a neighbor's leftover lentil stew, seasoned with coriander and garlic, still hangs faintly in the air. These are the small, intimate details of your world. Life isn't lived in the grand pronouncements of kings, but in these shared moments, in the taste of bread and the coolness of the evening breeze. You feel a deep connection to this place, to the river that gives life, and to the generations that came before you and will come after. Your eyes grow heavy. The boatman's song has faded, replaced by the chirping of crickets and the whisper of the wind through the palm fronds. You are a single thread in a magnificent, sprawling tapestry that stretches back through time. Your name may not be carved on any temple wall, but your existence is just as real, just as vital. Your hands helped build this world. Your heart has felt its joys and sorrows. As you surrender to sleep, you are not just an individual. You are ancient Egypt itself, breathing quietly under the protective gaze of 1,000 stars. Let the river's gentle current carry you into your dreams, secure in the knowledge that when the sun god returns, you will rise with him, ready for another day along the eternal Nile. Imagine you're an ancient Egyptian living thousands of years ago. What would your day be like? Forget what you've seen in movies. Let's travel back in time and live a day under the immortal sun. The sun rises early, and its light isn't gentle. It's a burning blade cutting across the desert. You wake before dawn, while the air still holds the last cool breath of the night. Your home isn't a palace. It's built from mud and straw, simple and functional. The walls are rough, the roof is flat, and instead of glass windows, a thin cloth covers the opening, trying to keep out the wind and the ever-present sand. In a corner, a few clay jars hold your water supply, and beside them, a piece of dry bread from yesterday awaits. Breakfast is the fuel for a long day's labor. It's humble but essential. Barley bread, a few slices of sharp onion, and a cup of thin beer. This isn't the beer you might be thinking of. It's a light fermented drink, almost like water, but crucially, it's safer to drink than the murky, unfiltered water from the river. You chew slowly, deliberately, then step outside as the sky ignites, turning from deep blue to a brilliant burning gold. The day has begun. Your work depends on your trade. If you're a brickmaker, your day starts at the riverbank. Here, the lifeblood of Egypt, the Nile, provides the mud. You mix it with straw, a timeless recipe for strength and durability. You press this mixture into wooden molds, creating uniform blocks, and then lay them out in neat rows to bake and harden beneath the merciless sun. It's a rhythm of bending, mixing, pressing, and lifting, repeated countless times. Or perhaps you're a stone hauler, one of the thousands building the eternal monuments for the pharaoh. You gather with your crew, looping thick, coarse ropes around massive blocks of stone. These blocks weigh more than you can possibly imagine. Shoulder to shoulder with dozens of others, you pull. Your muscles strain, your feet dig into the sand for grip. A drum beats a steady, hypnotic rhythm, and everyone pulls in unison. 1, 2, 1, 2. The drum is the only voice you hear. No one speaks. Words are a luxury you can't afford. They only dry out your mouth and waste precious breath. Your entire world shrinks to the rope in your hands, the weight of the stone, and the rhythmic beat of that drum. You work for the pharaoh, a god king you've likely never seen. His face is a mystery, but his name is everywhere, carved deep into every stone, every temple wall. In a way, you know him intimately. Each block you touch, each drop of sweat that falls onto the hot sand, is a silent contribution to his journey into the afterlife, a prayer for his eternal life beyond death. You're building not just a tomb, but a stairway to the stars for your divine ruler. This is your purpose, your contribution to the cosmic order. When the sun climbs to its highest, most punishing point in the sky, work pauses. This is the moment you search for shade, a commodity as rare and precious as gold. You find a sliver of shadow cast by a half-finished wall or a giant stone block. Lunch is as simple as breakfast. A few sweet dates, their sugary flesh a burst of energy, and maybe some dried herbs for flavor. You eat quickly, quietly, conserving your strength. There's no long lunch break here. As soon as the worst of the heat subsides, the work resumes. Slow, steady, unhurried, yet seemingly unending. This rhythm of labor has defined life in this land for thousands of years. And strangely, no one seems to find it cruel or unjust. Why? Because to the ancient Egyptians, order is sacred. This concept known as Mat is the fundamental principle of the universe. It represents truth, balance, and cosmic harmony. In this worldview, suffering isn't a random tragedy. It's part of the natural law, a component of the great balance to which every soul, from the pharaoh to the farmer, must submit. Your hardship has a place in the grand design. It is not meaningless. By performing your duty, you are upholding Mat, contributing to the stability of the entire world. Finally, the sun begins its descent, painting the western sky in shades of orange, pink, and deep purple. The workday is over. You return home, your body a map of the day's toil. You reach the riverbank and watch as the Nile, the giver of all life, glows a fiery red, mirroring the dying light of the sky. You don't look at this powerful force of nature with fear, but with a quiet awe. This river is eternal. It was here long before you, and it will be here long after you are gone. You are just a fleeting part of its long, unending story. Night descends, and a welcome coolness settles over the land. The heat of the day radiates up from the earth. Instead of sleeping inside the stuffy mud brick house, you climb the ladder to your flat roof. You lie down upon your simple reed mat, the rough fibers of familiar comfort against your tired body. Above you, the sky is a vast black canvas, and one by one, the stars appear. They are not just a few scattered lights. They are countless, like grains of sand thrown across the heavens, brighter and clearer than you can possibly imagine. And in that profound moment of stillness, suspended between the silence of the desert night and the immense weight of this ancient world, you feel the rise and fall of your own chest. You realize that you are still breathing, still alive. You are not just a laborer. You are a living, breathing part of history itself, a single vital thread in the magnificent, sprawling dream of ancient Egypt. Imagine standing in the grand hall of the palace at Memphis. Light filters through towering stone columns that seem to touch the sky, the very same hallways where pharaohs once walked, believing themselves to be the sons of the sun god. And there, before you, stands Pharaoh Amenhotep III, not a warrior, not a conqueror, but a king of stillness and eternity. He ruled not by the sword, but by time itself. While other kingdoms crumbled beneath the storms of war, his Egypt remained calm, flowing peacefully like the Nile beneath the first light of morning. He didn't build an empire of conquest. He built an empire of memory. His legacy was to be etched in stone, through temples, statues, and sacred rituals designed to keep his name alive long after his mortal life had ended. Every morning, Amenhotep would step onto his palace terrace to watch the sun rise from the east, the realm of Ra, the god reborn with each new day. He would close his eyes, breathe in the cool desert air, and think to himself, with each dawn, I live a little longer in immortality. This daily ritual wasn't just a moment of peace. It was a reaffirmation of his divine connection, a quiet defiance against the inevitable passage of time. He was a master builder, not just of physical structures, but of his own legend. His reign saw an artistic and architectural boom unprecedented in Egypt's history. The Colossi of Memnon, two massive statues of him that still stand today, were just a fraction of his ambitious projects. He built to be remembered, to ensure his story would be told for millennia. But even a pharaoh, a self-proclaimed god on earth, fears time. True immortality is a fragile dream. At night, when the drums of ceremony finally fade and a profound silence blankets the palace, he lies awake. The grandeur of his kingship recedes, and he is just a man, listening to the hum of insects beyond the cold stone walls. Perhaps he too turns restlessly in his bed, no longer a living god, but a mortal soul, weary and alone, wondering what truly lies beyond his final breath. The silence of the night can be a heavy burden, even for a king surrounded by luxury. It's in these quiet moments that the deepest human questions arise, questions that no amount of gold or power can answer. His servants would whisper that the pharaoh seldom slept deeply. They would say that he often rose in the middle of the night, drawn to the terrace as if by an invisible force. He would walk to the edge and gaze upon the vast, star-dusted sky, the very heavens where he believed his soul, his asterisk by asterisk, would one day ascend to join the gods. He would watch their faint, distant shimmer and murmur softly, like a prayer whispered to the cosmos, I will return in another form. No one truly dies as long as their name is spoken. This belief was the cornerstone of his existence, the driving force behind every monument he commissioned and every ritual he performed. For him, being forgotten was a fate worse than death itself. And so he built. He commissioned monuments of impossible scale, engraving his name, Amenhotep, deep into the stone, into the very bedrock of Egypt. He did this so that his dreams, his identity, and his story would never fade into the shifting desert sands. His cartouche, the oval ring containing his hieroglyphic name, was stamped everywhere, a seal of eternity. He wasn't just building temples. He was building anchors for his soul, ensuring it would have a home on earth long after his body was laid to rest in the Valley of the Kings. He poured the wealth of an empire into this singular, all-consuming quest for an eternal legacy. Thousands of years later, when archaeologists and explorers unearthed the magnificent ruins of that golden age, they found his name, carved upon towering walls, etched into the bases of colossal statues, written on papyrus scrolls hidden in tombs. His physical body had long since turned to dust, a relic of a forgotten time. But the dream of Amenhotep endured. The name he fought so hard to preserve had survived. And perhaps, if you listen closely in the quiet of this very moment, you can still hear the faint, timeless echo of that dream, a dream without an ending. A long, deep sleep of kings who once believed themselves to be divine. Now, let's bring this ancient world into our own. Take a slow, deep breath with me. Inhale deeply and exhale slowly. Imagine yourself standing not in your room, but in the vast, silent Egyptian desert. You are surrounded by nothing but wind, sand, and the silent, imposing shadows of colossal statues that have slumbered here for millennia. Feel the warm sun on your skin and the ancient ground beneath your feet. As you stand there in the presence of these timeless giants, allow your heartbeat to align with the rhythm of history itself. Slow, steady, and patient like the eternal flow of the great Nile River. With each breath, you connect to that ancient dream, to the quiet ambition of a pharaoh who sought to live forever. You are a part of that story now, a keeper of that memory, simply by bearing witness to it. The past is not dead. It lives on within us in the stories we tell and the histories we remember. There are things that, even after thousands of years, have never truly fallen asleep. They lie somewhere between two worlds, between light and shadow, between life and eternal slumber. The ancient Egyptians called that place Duat, the realm where the soul journeys after the body is gone. When a person died, their soul did not vanish. It simply continued on. The journey was long, slow, and silent like a night with no dawn. It was a sacred transition, and the body, the vessel of the spirit, had to be prepared. This is where the great work began. Imagine this. Priests would gently wash the body, chanting sacred words. This wasn't just a physical cleansing. It was a spiritual purification. Then they would begin the slow, methodical process of mummification. It took many days, performed in a cool, dim chamber where the only sounds were the whisper of the wind and the rustle of linen. The air would have been thick with the scent of cedar resin and other precious oils. There was no haste, no fear, only a profound, sacred stillness. The body was wrapped in linen, layer upon layer. Each fold was like a prayer, a lullaby whispered to eternity. It was an act of immense love and respect, ensuring the soul's home would endure. But what was this soul they were preserving? The Egyptians believed the soul was complex, with many parts. There was the Ka, the vital life force that animated the body. Then there was the Ba, often depicted as a human-headed bird, which was the unique personality and essence of the individual. The Ba could travel between the world of the living and the realm of the dead. And finally, there was the Ake, the enlightened, immortal spirit that was destined to soar among the stars, a shining, eternal being. So you see, death to the ancient Egyptians was not an ending. It was a departure, a voyage to be prepared for with the utmost care and reverence. Once the mummy was prepared, it was placed in its coffin, which was often nested inside several others, like Russian dolls. But this was only the beginning of the journey. The tomb walls themselves were covered in inscriptions and paintings. These weren't just decorations. They were a map, a guide for the soul. This collection of spells and instructions is known today as the Book of the Dead, but its true name in ancient Egyptian was far more poetic, the Book of Coming Forth by Day. Think of it as the ultimate travel guide for the afterlife. Each line was a spell, a password, a torchlight in the darkness to help the soul navigate the treacherous paths of Duat. It provided the deceased with the knowledge needed to overcome obstacles, answer the questions of the gods, and ultimately achieve eternal life. It ensured that the soul would not lose its way on its path to the stars. Now, let's talk about something that has captured the modern imagination more than anything else. The Pharaoh's Curse. Hollywood loves to portray it as a vengeful spirit striking down anyone who dares disturb its tomb. But the reality was born not from malice, but from a deeply human fear, the fear of being forgotten. On many tombs, you won't find threats of violent death. Instead, you'll find soft, almost pleading warnings, like, "Whoever disturbs my sleep, let his name be carried away by the wind forever." It wasn't about revenge. It was a desperate reminder to the living that the greatest terror, even beyond death, isn't dying, but being erased from memory. To have your name spoken was to live on. To have it forgotten was true annihilation. And strangely, it is that very fear, that profound longing to be remembered, that has made them eternal. Their names are still spoken, their stories are still told. In their quest for immortality, they actually achieved it. Today, when modern light shines upon mummies who have rested for millennia, we see faces that are strikingly serene. Their eyes are closed, their features calm, as if they are only sleeping. It's a sleep that has lasted for thousands of years, but it feels like it has never truly ended. Now, take a moment. Imagine you are standing inside a pyramid. The air is thick, heavy, and so still that you can hear your own heartbeat. Torchlight flickers, casting long, dancing shadows. Faint hieroglyphs fade upon the walls, yet they still whisper their ancient tale stories of humanity, of fear, and of that universal longing to be remembered. If you listen closely in that profound silence, you might just hear a soft breath. It's not from the mummies, but from time itself. Breathing slow and steady, lulling all of us into the same timeless dream, the dream of those who never truly disappear. Let your mind drift now, carried along the moonlit rivers of the Nile. In this ancient land, death is not a final terror, and sleep is simply the doorway to immortality. Everything slows down. You slow down, and in that stillness, at last, everything becomes quiet. Imagine yourself walking through long, silent corridors. The quiet opulence of Egypt's noble class. Imagine yourself walking through long, silent corridors. Torchlight flickers, casting dancing shadows on walls of gold. With every breath, the scent of sacred incense curls softly through the air. You follow this path deeper and deeper until you step into a world of unimaginable beauty, the world of pharaohs and nobles, surrounded by the most exquisite treasures ever crafted by human hands. Here, in the lavish palaces along the Nile, life moves with a serene and deliberate pace, as graceful as the moon's reflection drifting across still water. The faint melodic notes of a harp whisper through the air, their sound weaving behind jeweled walls carved with falcons and lotus flowers, potent symbols of power and rebirth. Every detail, every sound is part of a grand, tranquil design. When dusk falls, the Egyptian elite are never in haste. They gather by the still lotus ponds in their private gardens, watching the moon shimmer upon the water's surface. In this quiet moment, they believe that the sun god Re is also resting, preparing for his arduous journey through the darkness of the underworld, so he may rise again in radiant glory at the break of dawn. This daily cycle of rest and renewal is a divine promise they witness every single day. Each banquet held in these halls is more than just a feast. It is a sacred ritual, a quiet act of remembrance and gratitude offered to the gods. The soft chime of wine cups touching, the gentle whisper of fine linen robes brushing through the cool evening breeze, all of it feels perfectly composed, as if part of a single collective dream. A dream where immortals and gods dance together, bound in the eternal rhythm of the cosmos. The ancient Egyptians believed that earthly life was but a single chapter in a much, much longer story. This profound belief shaped their existence. They lived with an emphasis on grace, order, and beauty, hoping that when their time came to cross into the afterlife, their souls would be able to look back and smile in peace, free of regret and radiant in serenity. Their lives were a careful preparation for eternity. In the pharaoh's gardens, as night deepens, white lotus blossoms unfold beneath the starry sky. Their fragrance is delicate, almost sacred, filling the air with a sense of peace. It is said that each time a lotus petal closes at dawn, a new dream awakens in the heart of the earth, a dream born where the gods themselves sleep, and where time itself seems to stand perfectly still. As a deep night blankets all of Egypt, the distant, hypnotic lullabies of priestesses drift from the temples. Their melodies echo through the air, passing through gilded doors and touching the very souls of those who hear them. It is a wordless song, a universal melody, as if the cosmos itself were singing the world to sleep, cradling it in a gentle cosmic embrace. And then, within the profound silence that follows, only two sounds remain: the steady, rhythmic breath of the Nile River, flowing eternally onward, and the slow, powerful heartbeat of an ancient world. It is here, in this deep quiet, where every life, every dream, and every soul merges into one, within the eternal slumber of the gods. Now I invite you to close your eyes. Feel the gentle whisper of desert winds as they travel through millennia to reach you. Hear the soft sound of the Nile lapping against its sandy banks. Everything is calm, everything is peaceful. It's as though you are drifting upon that same mystical river, the one that leads into the heart of Egypt's 1,000-year dream. You have journeyed with us through light and shadow, from the blazing deserts to the life-giving river, from the vibrant dreams of humankind to the deep, silent slumber of the divine. If you are hearing this voice now, let your mind drift gently away from the worries of the day. And tonight, may you find a sleep as deep and as peaceful as the eternal stillness that once cradled the pharaohs. Sleep well, and remember, every beautiful dream begins in the quiet of the soul. Thank you for joining us on this journey. If you found peace in this story, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more journeys into the quiet corners of history. We'll see you again soon.